7 FM on translator K294AS Ashland.
This is the Bill Meyer Show on FM 99.3, KCMD in Grants Pass, and FM 106.7 at AM 1440, KMED. Join the show at 541-770-5633. That's 770-KMED. Here's Bill Meyer.
14 minutes after 8. I've had a number of people that I've met over my lifetime that I would tell them, gosh, you got to tell your story. In fact, I can think of a 3-star general that I know personally. He used to live around here in Southern Oregon, and he was telling me about all his experiences in Vietnam, and he wrote down these copious notes, and I would say, you need to get that book out. Get that book out. And he never got around to it. I'm kind of saddened about it because I think all these great stories will be lost. And then there's another person who I think is certainly worthy of telling his life story, and we've had him on the show before, Tom Silver, and he lives in Southern Oregon, makes Southern Oregon his home. And we've had him on the show a couple of times talking about hypnotherapy. We had him on recently a few weeks ago in which we were talking about how the news coverage out there in some sense is almost a mass hypnosis regarding violence and depression with the national folks here. And oddly enough, he has a very interesting background, and he does have a book out now about his life. Suzanne Silver, the wife of world-renowned hypnotist Tom Silver, joins me, and you can find out more about this book. And it's about, by the way, I'll hold it up to the Facebook Live camera, Kill the Hypnotist. I love that front picture, too, there, Suzanne. Suzanne, welcome to the show. Suzanne Silver. Great having you on.
Well, thank you, Bill. Thanks for having me on.
All right. So this was fascinating. It's... right from the beginning, he ended up digging right into Tom's life here. And I'm kind of curious, how did you and he first get together? Because Tom, I'm just going through the book. I read the book. I finished it, and I really enjoyed it. And he was in a miserable marriage. And okay, join the club, Tom. I mean, a lot of people have. But, but how did you end up getting involved with him and ended up becoming his storyteller, as it was, with Kill the Hypnotist?
So after Tom was divorced, he and I met in Southern California. And from the moment I met him, it was an incredible man in front of me. I saw this gorgeous smile. That's the first thing I noticed, and my heart was just going pitter-pat. After I recovered myself and we sat down and we started talking about ourselves, he began to tell me about being a hypnotist and the methods that he had developed, the different people he had helped, and I was hanging on his every word. This science is incredible.
Okay, now, hold on. All right. So you're sitting there going all fluttery. Hey, I really like this guy. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Was he using hypnosis
He
on
was
you?
not. He was not at that point. No.
Okay.
Everyone always asks, did he hypnotize you to go out with him? I'm like,
well,
no,
yeah,
he
it's
really
like
didn't.
It's like,
He
Suzanne,
had
look
just a
deeply
smile.
into my eyes. I'm going to use my manipulation tactics on you or help you here, and you will go to bed with me tonight. And I was, I mean, that's going to be that's the natural, isn't it?
I'm not that kind of girl.
I know.
But anyway, he must have felt very comfortable with me because, first date, first meeting, he even went into this remarkable story about working with the Taiwanese Department of Defense, the weapons procurement scandal with France, how they had purchased these warships and that they were defective, and that there was a murder mystery around this entire event where one of the captains had been murdered associated with it. And as he told me this story, I just looked at him and I said, this has got to be a book. One day, it's got to be a book.
Yeah.
So finally, we've got that.
And I have to tell you, I'd love to see it as a movie when it comes right down to it, too.
Yeah.
On top of that.
I think it would be a great movie. There's so much to it. I actually spanned 50 years of his life in order for the reader to understand how can somebody actually do this. I mean, you don't wake up one day and just go hypnotize imprisoned people and try to get them to tell you the truth about what happened. That doesn't just happen overnight.
Now,
there's tremendous things that occurred in his life that made him able to do these things.
And he was on radio shows, way back in the beginning. And by the way, when did he decide and how did he decide to become a hypnotherapist, a hypnotist, a hypnotherapist, because he studied voraciously on this in order to. But what actually drove him? Was it initially that problem with the death of his nephew, which is what you opened the book with, oddly enough?
Yes, I believe that very event is what's given him such a gift for helping people. He has this ability deep down to feel what you need. And I get into that somewhat in the book. It's incredible how he can meet someone, he can sit down with them and talk about what they're trying to do in their lives. And I hear it time and time again from his clients where somehow he got the right words that they just needed to hear. And I think that that's a gift, and I think it comes from, whatever your belief in a higher power is. But he is able to reach people. Well, I think that event from his childhood that was so horrific and heartbreaking helped him become this person that can be incredibly empathetic to others.
What I found interesting, and I don't want to go into the gory details, but he ended up witnessing the death of one of his best buddies. It was a relative, right?
Yes,
and they were children together, and he died, or the relative ended up dying in it's a gruesome event. It was really rough, and it really traumatized Tom. And the part that I find so interesting is that he works so often within his practice here in Southern Oregon to help people let go of the guilt and the shame and all the other things. But it seems pretty obvious he's had trouble doing that himself. Or is that is it still an issue for him?
Yes. I do not think a day goes by that he doesn't think of that event. And the reason why is it does drive him. It is what makes him who he is today. Mm-hmm. And I know that he has not let go of the guilt, but I believe that is because he feels that guilt keeps him in tune with humanity and helps him to help others.
Suzanne Silver is with me, and her new book is out, and it's based on Tom Silver's life, and it's Kill the Hypnotist, because essentially they did want to kill the hypnotist at one point, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah. And it has to do with getting involved with the mob and the military over in Taiwan. We're going to touch a little bit more on that. If you can hang on for another segment, Suzanne, I'd like to talk with you about that, okay? Right
okay.
back. Yeah, Suzanne Silver rejoins me here in just a moment, 8:22.
Are you an experienced HVAC technician with exceptional customer care experience and the proficiency to accurately diagnose and fix equipment problems? Advanced Air is looking for talented professional service techs that want to develop their career at an established company. Advanced Air offers exciting professional opportunities and a generous compensation package. Our award-winning team has more than 500 years of collective HVAC experience, so you also get support while in the field. Stop by our office to drop off a resume and fill out an application.
Intelligent, innovative, award-winning heating and cooling solutions. MyAdvancedAir.com.
Good day, Carpenter. That is a handsome structure you're erecting.
Thank you. Benjamin Franklin? I didn't realize you were still...
Yes, the reports of my demise have been greatly exaggerated. So tell me, my good man, why are your hands idle while the sun still shines?
Well, I'm waiting on the electricians to wire this home before I can start sheeting the walls. They're over an hour late.
That is most unfortunate and expensive. May I offer some friendly advice?
Sure.
My friends at Patriot Electric are skilled in the arts of wiring to harness and deliver electricity, and their punctuality and efficiency is second to none.
So you're saying I should declare my independence from those who would choose to hinder my pursuit of life, liberty, and construction?
Something like that. Yes, rebel, as it were.
Do you have their number?
Most certainly. Dial 665-7051. That's 665-7051. Or visit PatriotElectricOregon.com. Power for the people by Patriots.
From the baffling
There are plans to continue to dim the sun.
to the bizarre,
Call them chemtrails. People think you're a conspiracy crank, but they are chemtrails.
dive on into insanity.
They were telling us the planet is warming before COVID-19. I mean, how are there such anomalous cold events? And what's odd,
Ground Zero.
it's based on a very real scenario. This is reality.
Ground Zero.
You need to take notes.
Early evenings at 8 on KMED and KCMD. You're waking up with the Bill Meyer Show on 99.3 KCMD and FM 106.7 KMED.
I was just mentioning earlier that I had wrapped up reading Kill the Hypnotist based on the true life events of Tom Silver. Tom Silver, of course, tomsilver.com is his website. And his wife, Suzanne Silver, ended up putting together and telling the story. And I thought it was a great read. And by the way, it's you knocked $5 off it, so you can pick it up for $19.95 on the website right now. Isn't that right, Suzanne?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. And I think it's well worth the read. It's a lot of fun. But the fact is, what's more fascinating is realizing that this is real. The experience with Taiwan, which I'm going to go into with you here in just a minute, we'll touch on some of that. But when you met Tom a number of years ago, how'd you realize he was the real thing? Because one of the challenges of hypnotherapists that I think they're always kind of having to push back against, you're a fraud, you're a carnival charlatan type of sort of situation. What makes Tom different about that, and how does it work for him?
So Tom is different because he is able to help people, and I have been in such a privileged position to meet people who tell me what he's done for them. He is able to meet with these folks and find out what they need and get to the bottom of it. There's two stories that stand out in my mind that are very, very compelling, that tell you just what he can do. First of all, there was one day where he met with a man who had been on crack cocaine for 18 years. He had a cocaine habit. 18 years that he was dealing with this. Tom met with him, hypnotized him. That man, 3 months later, was contacting me, telling him he still was sober. He had no desire whatsoever to do cocaine. And we all know how addictive cocaine is.
Yeah, that kind of surprises me because I've been told by many people that a lot of these things, there are actual physical addictions too. It's not just an emotional addiction. Or am I wrong about that?
That is absolutely correct, and I'm so glad you touched on that, because you can use hypnosis to help you get past those physical addictions. The mind is very, very powerful. Just like if we focus on pain, we will feel that pain stronger. If you get busy doing something, maybe that pain goes away or you just don't notice it, right? Well, addiction is the same way. The more we focus on it, the more we think we've got to have that cigarette or we've got to have that drink, we've got to have that cocaine. The more we think that, the more we believe we must. However, through hypnosis, you can take away that thought process, that focus on it, and that's where it helps get over that physical addiction.
Are you able to hypnotize? I think I may have asked Tom this, but I'll ask you this since you're deeply involved with him and that practice there. So, can you hypnotize somebody to do something against their will, or that would actually be against their best interest, as it were? Because for a long time, I would read claims that said that no, you can't do that. Hypnosis, they can't go against your morality, and I'm not so sure that's the truth. But how do you see it?
So I think that is completely incorrect. I believe people have come to that belief simply because no one wants to believe they could be that out of control. But brainwashing, which is an extreme of hypnosis, is very real, and it does happen. And Tom even proved that on a series that was put out by the Discovery Channel called Brainwashed, where individuals were brought in and they were hypnotized to do different things. They used doctors and psychiatrists, and they actually had people that would commit a murder. Now, obviously, this was a staged murder; nobody got killed. But
so they staged it as part of the television show that Tom was going to hypnotize the person to induce them to do it.
Yes, but these people truly believed they were assassinating someone. And as you do these types of things, there is a certain faction of society that you can hypnotize to a point where they're completely unaware of their own morality. They're completely unaware that they are doing something against what they normally would want to do.
So Tom would then say that the Manchurian Candidate could be real, right?
Exactly. Only it doesn't have to have drugs. It can be done completely with brainwashing. The Manchurian Candidate used both.
Okay. Yeah. So if you use both. So when you get involved with hypnotherapy, then you have to make sure that you're dealing with truly responsible individuals, don't you?
You absolutely have to. There are people that studied hypnosis. Hitler is one. He mesmerized an entire country. And these are things we have to be aware of every day. Every single day we're being hit with propaganda. We're being hit with things that we don't necessarily believe, but we keep hearing it over and over and over again. And pretty soon it can be sandwiched into your brain, and it's there, and you don't know where it came from.
I'm glad you brought up Hitler, because it is well known that Hitler was a practicer and studier of, I think they call it neuro-linguistic programming techniques, in which, the way that you stand before, the way you use your voice, the way you would, use your body and put your hands up in certain ways a mass hypnosis technique, wasn't it?
That is correct, yes, yes. The ways they made him look greater than the church. They would show the church in the background very small and him very, very large. These were subtle ways of convincing people that he was greater than God. And those were the things that helped him to hypnotize the nation.
We're talking about the book Kill the Hypnotist, based on the true life events of hypnotist Tom Silver. Suzanne Silver's with me. Suzanne, if you can hang on for one more segment here, I want to talk about the Taiwan experience, a bit of this, because I think you've had to change some names to protect the innocent and or guilty.
Yes, indeed.
In some of the cases, why you have to say based on events. But it was a fascinating experience, and it's a book well worth getting. TomSilver.com, 8:30 at KMED and KCMD.
Across Oregon, they are the frontline workers fighting the coronavirus. They are doctors, nurses, and first responders. They are grocery store workers. They are volunteers. They are sanitation workers, farmers, delivery drivers, and law enforcement. At SAFE, Oregon's workers' compensation insurance company, we admire your dedication, determination, and skills. To Oregon's workers and our 53,000 policyholders across the state, thank you for showing us what strength is. Learn more at SAIF.com.
KMED and KCMD News, sponsored by Valley View Nursery, your only nursery with online pricing. Visit valleyviewnursery.com. They're closer than you think.
I'm Blakely McHugh with your NBC5 Morning News Update. It may sound like a broken record, but the number of coronavirus cases is on the rise. Governor Kate Brown is now implementing new restrictions. Governor Brown says starting Wednesday, everyone in the state will be required to wear a mask outdoors if people cannot physically distance from people they don't live with. She also announced that indoor gatherings of more than 10 people will not be allowed. That ban applies to things like dinner and birthday parties, but not businesses. Jackson County Public Health says testing material is running short. Dr. Jim Shame says if you have symptoms, even if they're mild, you should get tested. But since testing is so high in demand, the wait time to get your results could actually take a week or more. To get tested, Dr. Shame says you still need a healthcare provider's orders. While the region has not had any significant fires yet this season, the Red Cross says they are in desperate need of volunteers to help when fires do start. The nonprofit says it's been difficult to recruit new volunteers because of the pandemic. They're needing people to help set up and support shelters if needed. Training will be required, and they're hoping people will sign up for a class soon. They're also looking for any volunteers with a medical license of any sort that could help with things like monitoring people for COVID-19. So if you are interested in learning more, you can visit redcross.org. That's a look at your morning headlines. You can keep up with those stories and more on our website, KOBI5.com, and our Facebook page, KOBI TV NBC5. I'm Blakely McHugh.
This hour of the Bill Meyer Show is sponsored by Glacier Heating and Air, making sense of the heating and air business.
Across Oregon, they are the frontline workers fighting the coronavirus. They are doctors, nurses, and first responders. They are grocery store workers. They are volunteers. They are sanitation workers, farmers, delivery drivers, and law enforcement. At SAFE, Oregon's workers' compensation insurance company, we admire your dedication, determination, and skills. To Oregon's workers and our 53,000 policyholders across the state, thank you for showing us what strength is. Learn more at SAIF.com.
U.S. Cellular. For $30 a month with 4 lines, do you get A, unlimited data, B, a strong signal, or C, fast speeds? It's all of the above.
Unlimited data, strong signal, fast speeds, $30 per month. U.S. Cellular. Choose fair. Auto pay, paperless billing, and credit approval required. Data on the unlimited basic plan may be temporarily slowed in times of congestion, and data may be slower than other traffic. Additional terms apply. See uscellular.com for details.
Siskiyou Cellular, an authorized agent for U.S. Cellular, is open and ready to serve at all 7 Southern Oregon stores. Visit souscellular.com for locations and directions.
Hi, it's Danny Acree at the new American Lumber. At American Lumber, you'll find a great selection of lumber, fencing, and decking at competitive prices. And customer service is easy to find, too. Let us help with your next project. American Lumber on Avenue G in White City.
Tax time is always frustrating and nerve-wracking. Ease your headache and nerves. Have Pat Hurley be your voice. He knows the tax laws. And as a former IRS agent, he understands your rights. Call Pat at 774-1040.
99.3 KCMD, FM 106.7 KMED. And this is The Bill Meyer Show.
We're talking about Kill the Hypnotist, the book about Tom Silver. Suzanne Silver, the author of it. By the way, it's available right now, tomsilver.com. Find out more. It's like $5 off. You can buy through the website there. Hey, Suzanne, we had a question about hypnosis. Al in the Applegate has an interesting question. I think he's had a serious question. Hey, Al, how you doing this morning? You wanted to talk about hypnosis techniques, huh?
I do. I want to know if the flickering of the television screen can put people in a state of hypnosis, and if that explains why so many CNN viewers are mind-numb robots.
That's really funny. Well, on the first part of the question, yes, absolutely. Flickering lights, anything that causes you to focus in on something is a type of hypnosis. It's called environmental hypnosis. It is when you go to a movie theater and you start to watch the movie, and at first, you hear the guy next to you that's chomping his popcorn and the kid in front that's crying, but then the movie starts and you get drawn into it, and pretty soon everything around you is gone. It's faded. That's when you are environmentally hypnotized. All it means is you are in a deep state of focused concentration.
Focused concentration, and then you can be, suggestions can be made, right?
That's when suggestions can be made. Now think about it. If you're in that state and you're given suggestions that are negative or that you don't think you believe, your subconscious is still saying, "Oh, okay, I'll take that in." Mm-hmm. So, CNN, Fox, any of the news broadcasts, whether they're far right, far left, or in between, they can influence you that way if you get in that state while you're watching.
Very interesting. I appreciate the question, Al. I wanted to kind of switch it here as far as the influence goes. Then that. You write in the book, Kill the Hypnotist, that there are certain personality types that Tom would look for, because he would do all those television shows, and they would do the stage shows with the NBA. Did he actually do shows with the NBA? I'm not sure how much of the book is actually directly taken from Tom and how much of it had to be sort of, embellished a bit as part of the novel process. Maybe you can help me on that.
The events like that are absolutely 100% true.
So he would hypnotize people on the spot there, relatively speaking, at NBA halftimes in some of these places, Indianapolis. Correct. All right, and they would do stuff like that. But they would look for certain types of personalities. Tom would do that. What types of personalities are more easily suggestible?
That is a very difficult question, because each one of us can be hypnotized and can learn to get to a very, very deep state. Mm-hmm. He would look for people that were able, if he was doing a show, he would look for people that were able to not only go into hypnosis, but people that would be outgoing and would be able to let go.
To put on a good show. To put on a good show, in other words, right?
Exactly. Because some people would be more lethargic when they're in hypnosis. So he'd look for those types of folks. That doesn't mean that those are the only ones that are being hypnotized. Like I said, we're all capable of being hypnotized.
Is it not true, though, that there was one part of the book there that mentioned that the more analytical the person may be, the more challenging it could be for Tom to get them under?
So I am an exact person of that nature. I'm actually a CPA. We're about as analytical as they come.
Sure.
And at one point, I wanted to start working on some things. This was after I'd known Tom for about a couple of years. And so he tried to put me into hypnosis, and the first time he had me on the brainwave machine so he could actually show me that we lowered my brainwave a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I continued to work with him and work on it. And eventually I was able to go in and out of this focused concentration state automatically. That's allowed me to use self-hypnosis to make my life better.
That's really interesting.
It's very helpful. My life is totally different than it was when I first met Tom.
In what way, in that respect of being able to use the self-hypnosis technique?
Far more confidence, far more ability to do things, not buying into a limited life script. I mean, I work full-time in a very challenging profession, and yet I was able to write a novel and put this thing out. That is something that I used to say, there's no way I'll ever have the time to do that. So that's just one example of many.
All right.
But it can help with many things. It can help you be happier. It can help you be more motivated and confident.
All right. Now, is it just a fairy tale in aspect that you're telling yourself a fairy tale, though, in the self-suggestion that, I are smart, that sort of thing?
No. So you're trying to tell yourself the things you want to work on, right? Mm-hmm. So I go into a state of focused concentration. I recognize now when I'm in that state, even if it's during the day. Okay, so think about it. It's during the day, and you get into this state like we were just talking about with the gentleman from Applegate. We get into that state. Well, what you tell yourself when you're in that state is what's going to hit your subconscious and stay there. So if I tell myself at that point, oh, I'm so angry, I'm so frustrated, guess what? I'm going to be in a lousy mood. But if I recognize I'm in that state and I say, I am calm, I am confident, I can handle any challenge, all of a sudden I am right there and able to take on whatever's going on during the day.
Suzanne Silver, once again, she's the author of Kill the Hypnotist, based on the true life events of hypnotist Tom Silver. Before we take off here, Suzanne, I wanted to touch on the murder mystery aspect of this book. And it was just, there were some times that my jaw dropped because I'm kind of amazed that Tom ended up getting involved with the Taiwanese military back in the day. This must have been back in the 1990s, I'm thinking.
Yes.
Yeah, because
yes,
he showed me once the actual award that he received from the Taiwanese government because he helped them solve a mystery out there. What ended up getting him involved with Taiwan in the first place? How did he ever, make it in, because otherwise he was doing all these shows in the United States and, had a level of fame out there.
So the gentleman that brought him to Taiwan brought him there to help this society understand what hypnosis is. He had seen Tom's shows in the States, and he wanted to get that type of show going in Taiwan, helping people to understand that they can better their lives through this science. Well, the way to introduce the society to that is to show them the entertainment, make the science entertaining as well as realistic, so that folks can see what is happening and how it can influence their lives. It was a way to introduce that culture to this science to help people live better lives.
Okay. How did the military end up getting involved with him through that, though? Were they just watching the show?
Remarkable.
Were they just watching the show?
Yeah. Well, they knew of Tom through his fame in the country. He had been on Super Sunday quite a bit, and there were other TV shows that were very popular in Taiwan.
And Super Sunday is a big celebrity-driven show in Taiwan at that time, right?
Yes, very big. And so the Taiwanese government had knew of him just from the fame. Well, they had hit a brick wall in the especially the murder mystery part of this procurement scandal, and they were looking for any possibility that might help them get further information. They had imprisoned people. They had people that were part of the embezzlement, that had been part of the crime, but no one were they able to find was the murderer.
And by the way, they had tortured people, trying to get to the bottom of this, right?
Yes, they had used torture to try to get to the bottom of these things, and these people were very, very strong. Torture did not work. Well, they approached Tom and said, do you think hypnosis might work on this? Now, here we get into this life script thing, okay? So you think you're not going to be hypnotized. You think you're not going to tell the truth. You think you're going to refuse, and even torture couldn't get it out of you. Well, anybody and everybody that he talked to told him this could not be done. Well, when you tell Tom Silver something can't be done, he does the opposite, and that's one of the things I love most about him, and that he's taught me. Do not buy into limited life scripts. So he developed a methodology with his interpreter to hypnotize these people. And I'm going to call them gentlemen because some of these people were not as bad as you would think. They were what we would call white-collar criminals, but they weren't murderers. Others that he hypnotized, they actually were innocent. And through the hypnosis, he was able to get these people off the list of potential suspects.
That's what I found really interesting, because it wasn't all about finding the bad guy, that there were people they suspected, and they say, oh, okay, all right. So, but those hypnosis sessions would then lead them to clues to find more of the people who really did do the bad stuff, which I thought was really interesting. And and tell us a little bit about the character Eddie. That is a major part of this book, and I don't. It must not be his real name, or is it his real name? I don't know.
It is not his real name.
Okay.
Eddie is quite a character, and I will tell you, I stayed quite true to Eddie.
And by the way, I would say Eddie was the person who brought him to Taiwan back in the day.
Eddie was the agent that brought him to Taiwan. He was an actor as well as an agent. He was well known in the country and very, very connected, not only on the entertainment side of things, but also in the seedier side of things. And so as you read about Eddie, you learn more and more about just how deeply involved he was with people and how scary he truly was.
It kind of reminded me a bit in some ways of The Godfather meets the hypnotist in Taiwan, right?
Yeah,
you know?
It really was. And Eddie is a larger-than-life character and very scary.
Yeah, there is a part of this in which essentially, I guess one memorable part of that book was Eddie talking to Tom and saying that he was drunk, right? Say, yeah, I could just make someone disappear, right?
Yeah.
and here's Tom, of course, getting paid, I don't know, it was $1,500 a week or whatever he's getting paid at that time. It's kind of like going, okay, all right. And he's seeing everybody come up and kind of kiss his feet in some ways.
Yes.
It was coming in, oh, Eddie, everyone's saying great things, and that even some of the big people, the big wigs in Taiwan, were not as big as Eddie, which is an interesting story in and of itself. Yeah. All right. I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend this. I really do think that people would enjoy this story. We're just scratching the surface of it, but like I said, you have the hypnosis, the United States experience, the meeting of you. You included a love, not a love thing, but kind of, it's almost like one of Eddie's agents got involved with Tom at one point romantically, right? Was that a little uncomfortable to write? I was curious.
Yeah, well, when you're writing something that intimate, it's always going to be uncomfortable. I use a secondary personality of my own just to get out of myself. And that helped me to write that. But yes, it's quite the scene.
Yeah,
I hear a lot about that one.
Yeah, it's a little bit of Rip the Bodice fiction part of that, but it wasn't like smutty.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
But I was just kind of thinking, okay, how do you write this about your husband? At least your current husband, I guess. Well, that's a little bit of that self-hypnosis. All right. I'm kind of curious. Do you think the culture is now more accepting? Because it appeared that the Taiwanese were very accepting of that. And and final question, what about the United States culture? Are they looking more to these kind of techniques these days, you think? Alternative health?
Yes, I see that our culture is starting to realize that these things are real and that they can be very, very helpful. People are looking more and more how to be better, how to live their lives to their most fulfillment, how to be happier. We live in a very depressed society, and it's part of this environmental hypnosis that I believe has created these anxieties and such that so many people deal with. This type of work can turn that around so that you're living a happy, healthy, fully productive life that you really want to have.
And final question, I guess I do have one more final, Suzanne. Is there any way that one could help shield themselves from the negative programming of the culture? Any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. Let me give you an example. There was one day when we were going to a fun amusement park, and we were all upbeat. The whole family's having fun, and all of a sudden, I got so angry and so upset. Well, Tom had taught me, be a witness to your thoughts. Know exactly when you're going into that state and what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Within seconds, I realized we had just passed a billboard that had a picture on it that reminded me of something horrible that happened in my childhood that all of a sudden I was getting back in my mind and angry about. Well, I turned it around instantly. I did a little mantra, got myself back into the happy state that I had started in, solely because I recognized it. Well, these are the types of things that creep into our psyche all day long, that if we are aware, we can block them from hurting us.
So being aware and taking responsibility for your own thinking and feeling.
Yes, but you have to learn how and when you're in that focused concentration state for it to truly work. You know, there was always this big thing of, you know, doing mantras and you know, telling yourself, I am beautiful, I am great, I am confident.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the problem is if you're telling yourself when you're in a highly conscious state where your brainwaves are really kicking, you're hitting a brick wall.
Yeah, subconscious doesn't buy it.
Exactly. The subconscious isn't even aware you're saying it. But when you lower those brainwave levels down to this focused concentration state, that's when you can say those things, and they go directly in, and that's when you help your life.
All right. Suzanne, it's an interesting story. It's a great book. I really enjoyed this, and that's why, you know, I've kept you over for more segments than I would normally do for most typical, let's say, political authors and things like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bill.
Yeah, and I just really enjoyed it. Suzanne Silver, Kill the Hypnotist, based on true life events. I think you find it a great read, and you can find out more on tomsilver.com. I have the link up on kmed.com to go directly to the book there, too. And it's like $5 off right now. And you folks are local, so it's great. But that's the final question I wanted to know. How did you end up in Southern Oregon? How did you both end up here? How did that happen?
So we came here about 4 years ago because we just wanted to slow down. Southern Oregon can burn you out. I was actually born and raised in Montana. And Southern Oregon is very, very exciting, and you can do wonderful things to advance careers and that sort of thing. But, boy, you are working both ends of that candle real hard and real long. So we came here to try to enjoy some time together and just have a great life.
All right. Thanks for letting me know, Suzanne. Good talking with you. Be well, okay?
Thank you.
All right. It is 8:51 at KMED and KCMD, and you're on the Bill Meyer Show. And when I return here in just a moment, we're going to do the Diner 62 Real American Quiz. 770-5633, 770-KMED. And I'm going to start with caller number 6 this morning because, of course, I'm having to answer the phones. So jump on that, 770-5633, and we'll get you set up with a $20 gift certificate to Diner 62, and you can